one of the biggest divides in politics is between the fascists who are sane enough to run a government and the fascists who are too insane to run the government, you know? Like, basically every American politician back in 1910 was a racist, but there is a pretty big difference between a racist who can put on a suit and tie, go in there, and do governance that at least somewhat keeps America afloat, and the kind of seething, frothing at the mouth Ku Klux Klan racist whose only position is their insane racial hatred and is actually incapable of any kind of governance outside of that. And that is consistently a problem. You mean like Trump versus DeSantis? I would say a better comparison would be McCain versus Trump, or the neocons versus Trump, where there's been a strong fascist element in the Republican Party for a long time, and Trump and the MAGA crowd represents a move towards people who aren't just very conservative, who aren't just anti-democracy, but are also like so committed to those principles that they're bad at governance, like really bad at it. They're not competent enough to govern. Do you think McCain was anti-democracy? I don't think that McCain was personally anti-democracy, but Republicans have been responsible for the erosion of our democracy for a long time. Going back to Reagan would be one of the clearest examples. Reagan was like a fully like corporatist, nothing matters except the bottom line dollar, super ultra racist homophobe set. Like, he's really, really, really bad. He didn't weather at America's political institutions in the same way that, say, Trump does by openly attacking them. But yeah, Reagan, contributed to the erasure of these systems in large part by being like super duper pro corporate, like fuck over unions. Corporations have like basically limitless power to do whatever it is they want to do. Incredible power when it comes to maneuvering within our political system. And, is that fascism? Maybe not. It's neoconservatism, but it is fascistic in many ways, and it definitely like paves the way, Mitt Romney and McCain were not that bad at all, IMO, but they both lost and Republicans started pushing for more conservative candidates. No, don't buy into that. Mitt Romney and McCain were both still really bad. The problem is that right now the bar is so low that it's difficult to see that. Not to mention, Romney and McCain have both defined themselves by being opposed to Trump's takeover of the party. But if Trump hadn't happened, if Mitt Romney and McCain had both been able to be president, they would have continued the exact same neoconservative policies that lead towards corporate control, de-democratization, and everything that essentially like led us to where we are right now. For everything openly fascistic Trump is able to do, he is backed by decades of Republican legislative precedent with regards to corporate power, with regards to like what the news media can do, with regards to Supreme Court precedent. And somebody like Trump just couldn't really exist without that, What differs neoliberalism and neoconservatism? In the latter, you hate gays a little bit more than in the former, basically. Neolibs also prefer free trade over protectionism. Well, so do neocons. Like, at least nominally, but people have always been inconsistent on that. Vaush, you keep referring to neoliberalism as neoconservatism? Well, no. Conservatives and liberals are both liberals in a political sense. Neoconservatism and neoliberalism are both the same basic wing of political thought and economic thought. They're differentiated largely by severity and by cultural, positions. Yeah, neoconservatives are neoliberals, but also conservative. Much in the same way that, like, conservatives are liberal. It's relativistic, What are people who say they're socially liberal but fiscally conservative? Dishonest. The socially liberal, fiscally conservative wing of political thought, also known usually or at least associated with libertarianism, has collapsed in on itself. Go look at any libertarian account, like on Twitter. They're all neo-Nazis. Like, seriously. They're all neo-Nazis. There was a time where people could pretend that libertarianism was some kind of like third wing, but it has instead taken the more aptly named third position because they are all fucking Nazis. It's not good. Shouldn't be a Nazi. Not good, man. Libertarian Nazi like this? What? Oh, yes. The New Hampshire Libertarian Party Twitter account is probably one of the best examples. But you might also remember that Caitlin Bennett ran a prominent libertarian Twitter account for a while. I think it got banned. They're openly neo-Nazis. There were, guys, in case you think this is new, Ron Paul also wanted to repeal the Civil Rights Act. So, how do they justify that? States' rights. They don't want the federal government imposing and telling like all businesses that they have to serve to black people. They want it to be a state thing. Though, of course, if you don't like the idea of a federal government being able to legislate that, I don't know why you would be okay with a state government legislating that. The whole states' rights thing has never made any sense to begin with. The idea of like, oh, we don't want this big law to go out nationally. We'd be okay with the states deciding. Okay, like, well, then why would you be okay with them deciding? Couldn't a state then do their own civil rights act, and then people would be like, oh, well, the state shouldn't be able to decide, the county should decide? Like, it doesn't make any sense.